everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to have you join us today. Today, we will be discussing something very interesting that a lot of us have been looking forward to, which has to do with driving business growth with AI and intelligent data. With data on the rise, how we generate a lot of data is on the rise, and sometimes we are confused, we are overwhelmed, we don't know what the data is saying, we don't know how to work with it to get the hidden insights that are in our data. So today we have some experts who will be taking us through this topic, showing us how we can maximize some of the data that we have generated and also to use this knowledge to drive business growth. All right, so before we get right into the webinar, there are a few housekeeping rules I'd like us to take note of. You probably have observed that our microphones turned off. This is to ensure we have less experience and minimization of interruptions. We also in this presentation, and everyone is going to the recording at the end of the event. So if you have anything that you probably want to get explanation, you're going to get resources at the end of the event. And lastly, despite turning off our cameras and microphones, the chat is open. So please use the chat. We have poll questions that we draw. Kindly questions will pop up on your screen or afterward. So that kindly use chat, draw, and we have the calls who will get to cover today. We will have an introduction to Reliance Info Systems for the benefit of to us for the first time. Unified approach management and harnessing AI for analytics would have it of our of what we're discussing today. See how it works in real time. So to sit out systems and with AI and data. Firstly, we have Benedict, who is a data analyst, and we have myself, a customer excellence strategist, and I have the privilege of being your anchor for today. Now, let's get into the first item on our agenda, which is an overview of Reliance Info Systems. Reliance Info Systems is an award-winning organization, an ICT organization with global footprints across Middle East and Asia, Southeast Asia, Europe, North America, and also Africa. We have footprints in 15 operating markets, and we've had the privilege of being the Microsoft Partner of the Year for over 8 times now. Our competencies have been well recognized over the years, and several of our awards have been listed on the screen. This is to let you know that Reliance Info Systems is very good at what we do. We are committed to our goals to provide digital transformation services for your businesses. To support our mission, we have several partners that we work closely with, including Microsoft, Sophos, Cisco, Ray-Ban, Hewlett-Packard, and several others. This ensures that your business can get the solutions that they need to help you drive business growth and achieve your corporate objectives. We abide by a success outcome philosophy. This has to do with winning with our customers. So instead of a basic transaction where you say you want something and we just give you that and walk away, we are committed to ensuring that you can harness value from whatever you procure from us. This means that it is until you have realized that value that we can say that indeed we have assisted you in your digital transformation needs. To support this philosophy, our business stands on 4 success pillars. This first is AI and people transformation. This has to do with enhancing productivity and employee experience through AI. We understand that there are several things that are going on within our organizations, and you're looking for how to drive employee interest, drive engagement, and all of this. The solutions within AI and people transformation pillar can help you enhance your productivity in your organization. The second pillar is operations and insights. involves driving business operations, controls, and amplifying efficiency, leading to insight for action. So part of what we are going to be doing today has to do with operations and insights, where you want to see exactly where is our energy going to and what can we do more to drive business operations. The third pillar is cyber defense. This encompasses several cybersecurity services and solutions. So there are a plethora of solutions that can help you boost your security within your organization. It's not enough to invest in AI, to invest in people transformation, your operations, and then your business remains vulnerable. And lastly, we have cloud services that involves infrastructure and services in the cloud. With more businesses migrating to the cloud, we as a Microsoft partner can support you in leveraging the scalability and flexibility that the cloud provides. Now, before we get right into our webinar proper, I would like to announce to you that there's something special for you as our guest today. And we would love for you to stick around, listen to our professionals, hear everything that they have to say, take back some tidbits to the organization, and then we would get right to you with our special announcements at the end of today's session. So now I would like to call our first speaker, who is Benedict. Benedict will be taking us through how to approach, or rather to embrace, a unified approach to data management and analytics. Hello, Benedict.
Okay, sorry, I was muted. Hello, Nifemi. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Also, welcome everyone to this webinar, and we're going to be, just like the topic says, right, embracing a unified approach to data management and analytics. And what exactly does this speak to? So this basically speaks towards how we can adopt a unified approach to how we interact with our data, be it data integration processes, data engineering, visualizations, data warehousing, and so on and so forth, right? So think about it of how can we get more value how can we get more value out of our data? And another question you may be asking yourself is, why exactly would you want to adopt a unified approach to data management and analytics? Well, I would answer by this, right? In addition to the efficiency gains that you would have in how you make your decisions, as well as how you drive your business processes, right? I'm sure you are well aware of the headlines that we've been seeing going around over the months, right? Be that the future of AI is here, right? So from easy to use Copilot experiences that come out of the box to custom generative AI solutions that are made in the new Azure AI Studio. Basically, every organization is exploring how they can take advantage of AI and what kind of efficient data management and analysis framework is the foundation that they're going to need to leverage on the benefits that this AI revolution can potentially bring to them. And it's actually more important now because after years of disruption driven by the pandemic and the shifting economic landscape, industries are now continuing to transform quickly. And AI technology is only going to further expedite this transformation. And the way I see it, right, what sets AI apart from, would I say, the prior technological advances that we've had, right, is its remarkable capacity to enhance our cognitive abilities that will now enable us to think, reason, learn, and basically express ourselves in a much more streamlined way. And we believe that AI offers a unique array of advantages that would be able to, that your organizations such as yourself will be able to harness on to get as much value as you can. And a recent study actually found that 87% of leaders believe that AI would help give them the organization a competitive edge within their respective sector. Now, the major question every leader is going to be asking themselves right now is this: how will my organization seize the full potential of AI while safeguarding my business data as my employees, right? And to answer to this, right, you now need to look at this you have to look at it from this perspective, right? So understanding that AI is basically here to shape our technological landscape, right? We basically identified three other trends that we believe will continue to heavily show that disruption moving forward. And the first is the knowledge that the 91% of leaders have reported increasing investment in data and analytics throughout the organization. So while we've seen a significant digital transformation as well as data estate modernization in recent years, it's also essential for businesses to have a data and analytics strategy in order to maximize the value of their data and turn it into a competitive advantage. So because AI solutions are only successful when they are built and trained on high quality data, organizations that have not made strides to effectively manage and leverage their data, they are going to struggle and leverage on their data the way they're supposed to be. Also, the number two item is that 72% of leaders, they agree that problems within their underlying data, right, that is most likely going to jeopardize their AI and ML efforts, right? So businesses, they now need a way to clean and prepare their data for the innovation that they plan to adopt. And as we're seeing all of this unfold, a large part of maintaining a competitive advantage is through the use of this AI technology, right? So AI basically gives life to all the data that you're basically creating. Then the third trend that we're seeing is that in 2024 in particular, 44% of leaders, they intend to implement some form of data modernization or efforts to better position them to take advantage of generative AI, as the case may be. And in organizations that have vast amounts of data, the reality is that this data would largely remain underutilized, if not used at all. And the fact that these data remains underutilized, right, is not like a situation we can entirely blame on these organizations, right? Because for organizations that are trying to streamline and maybe even advance their data estates, the burden often falls on them to search through a myriad of data and AI offerings, such as what we are seeing here. That just gives you a mosaic of the kind of solutions that are actually available there, right? So they'll have to go through a plethora of data and AI offerings to find the right set of offerings and figure out, okay, how do we integrate them and do it in such a way that it's actually scalable and can evolve over time along with our business best practices. And we would now see that most data leaders would rather focus on the outcomes of these tools rather than spend all their time trying to integrate different kinds of specialized tools or even trying to maintain the data estate, as the case may be. So you can look at this as kind of like the problem statement, right? We have so many data offerings that are all data offerings that are all one part of our data management and analytics workflow, as the case may be. And the major question is how do we streamline all these solutions into what's something that can actually help us get a more streamlined outcome, especially seeing as we want to, in one way or another, innovate with AI. I'm glad we look at it from that perspective, right? So this is really going to be the starting point where you're going to find yourself in, right? Whereby most organizations, right, their data environments would have probably grown organically over time with different kind of specialized and fragmented solutions, such as what I just showed in the previous slide, right? And a complex data estate such as this, right, it leads to data sprawl and duplication, infrastructure efficiencies, limited interoperability, and even data exposure risk. And if you are looking towards leveraging on your data to drive a form of data of AI innovation, as the case may be, this is usually not an ideal place to start, whereby your data is scattered everywhere. You have infrastructure efficiencies, your tools that you might have gotten, they are not entirely working well with each other. And you now know, okay, what exactly is it that you want to achieve? and you want to achieve a position whereby you activate your data for your AI innovation, as the case may be, right? And activating this your data for your AI innovation is going to entail going through a couple of steps. One of which is unifying your enterprise data estate, right? And centralizing and curating all your business data within a single governed hub. Then streamlining the analytics process for responsible data discovery and usage. That's going to be your step one inside in the whole process. Then the step two would then be to transform your data for powerful AI solutions, right? And then this will now help reduce the time and effort that it takes to unlock insights from your data using things like natural language and custom generative AI solutions to basically streamline your development of machine learning and artificial models by building them on top of the sort of lake-based data architecture. Then the step three would then be to empower everyone with analytics and insights by providing them with self-service analytic tools to basically assist to expedite their innovation and the discovery of new revenue opportunities, thanks to the facilitation of the near real-time insights that you would have achieved from step one and step two. Then the step four would then be to seamlessly govern and protect by responsibly democratizing data while also providing industry-leading layered security, governance, and compliance capabilities to accelerate your value creation without necessarily compromising protection. So while we are focused on trying to drive value out of our data and creating a form of aggregation of our data, we do not also want a situation whereby we're exposed to certain risks, as the case may be. And this is not going to be the final line or the finish line from the starting line that we start. This is where we want to be currently, right? Whereby we have laid the foundation for our long-term success in the era of AI. So organizations will then need a unified, intelligent data estate that is built on an open and governed data lakehouse. Right? So what organizations would want, that they would want a solution that should easily and seamlessly be able to connect to all their data sources in one place. That is all going to be protected by a secure and federated governance approach with built-in self-service analytics tools, whereby all employees can also be empowered to extract more value from their data, whether it's through advanced data preparation, exploration, transformation, or modeling, and so on and so forth, right? And everything would then be provided within a single environment, right? So with this unified intelligent data estate, right, you can then accelerate from your insight discovery while also transforming your data for successful AI innovation. So we would want a streamlined solution that actually caters towards all the items, towards everything that we basically see here, aggregating our entire data estate into one environment. And a question you may then ask is, what kind of solution does actually take care of this or take cognizance of it or something like this, right? And that's where we'll now speak about Microsoft Fabric, right? But before we get into the Microsoft Fabric, right, I would just like to ask a question. A quick poll is going to be dropped, whereby asks, how would you rate your organization's current level of data integration across your platforms and teams? So are you currently in a situation whereby your data is actually scattered across multiple systems and it's actually quite difficult for you to actually get a unified view on your entire data estate, right? So that poll is going to be dropped for you to help us assist answering that question. So now going back to the topic, right? The Microsoft Fabric, which is basically that tool that I spoke about that provides that unified platform for your entire data integration processes. So what exactly is the Microsoft Fabric? Think of the Microsoft Fabric as a one-stop shop, right, for all your data needs, be it your data integration, your data engineering, your real-time analytics, your data science, your business intelligence needs. without compromising the privacy and security of your data, which is basically what we talked about just earlier. Right. So now by using Microsoft Fabric, it will enable teams to experience an end-to-end highly integrated single solution that is basically easy to understand, onboard, create, and then operate. Right. So now with this particular solution, right, you customers will no longer have to stitch together multiple data analytics and BI solutions to get the business answers that they will need. So you wouldn't need to spend so much time trying to get select from multiple data and AI offerings, right? Because everything is going to be compacted into one single solution, a software as a service, basically software as a service solution, right? That will now provide a single source of truth for all your data and assists to democratize insights for every individual that may want to leverage on those insights, as the case may be, and then helping streamline your data investment. So you don't have to spend much money purchasing multiple different AI solutions, and you can streamline your purchase just to one solution that basically caters towards all your data needs, as the case may be. And some of the way Fabric is actually driving some of these outcomes is, one, the fact that it is lake-centric and open, whereby it then aligns your different teams with a unified approach towards all your data, aggregating all your data into a single data lake, so you can have a single source of truths across your entire data environment, right? Then also the other item is going to be the center of enablement for every user, right? Whereby the insights are actually democratized, right? And then we employ a wide range of easy-to-use analytic tools that can then enable every user to leverage on Microsoft Fabric to drive any analytics endeavors that you may want. Obviously, professionals will get more value, but Microsoft Fabric was designed and built in such a way that you don't entirely need to be a seasoned data professional to be able to get and derive value out of this, right? Then the last item is going to be the persistent security and governance, right? Whereby Microsoft has already implemented an open, with this open and scalable environment, right? Microsoft has already built in security, governance, and compliance capabilities to ensure that you are always compliant, you are always safe, and you're always meeting up with whatever standard that may be set, whatever standard that may have been set by your organization's data governance team. And how exactly does it achieve this, right? Microsoft Fabric achieved this. It achieves this by way of what's known as the Microsoft Purview, right? So while the Microsoft Fabric, think of it this way, while the Microsoft Fabric aims to help assist you in how you manage your data and your analytics and drive your entire data and AI innovation, right? Microsoft Purview is layered on top of the Microsoft Fabric, right? To basically act as a solution for your comprehensive data governance and compliance needs on all your data, wherever it lives, right? So now the Microsoft Purview, right, it combines different solutions for your data security, right, which is going to be for your security leaders, your data governance for basically your data officers and maybe your consumers, and your data compliance, as well as that's going to be for your risk leaders, into one unified experience, and then provides you like a more or less like a bird's eye view over your entire data estate, so that you get an idea of who has access to what data, what level of access that person has, and do I need to enforce some certain level of restrictions, or am I straying away from certain principles or procedure that may have been set up by the organization? So Microsoft Fabric and Microsoft Purview, they come stitched together to basically ensure that as you are aggregating your data into a single environment, you have a peace of mind that your data is always secured, right? And there is never going to be any sort of like data leakage, as the case may be. So now, as I've had this discussion, as I've just discussed about Microsoft Fabric, right? I'm sure a question may then be coming to you. How would organize some different kind of organizations or different sectors, or how could this cater towards me and my own business use case? And for that, right, I have just a couple of use cases that can speak to that, right? One would be in the field of healthcare, right, whereby you have vast amounts of highly sensitive and regulated data. So in addition to maintaining high levels of compliance and security, Microsoft Fabric can allow for an improved patient experience by giving healthcare organizations access to structured and unstructured medical data within the one lake, which is basically the storage for your data, right? So now having this lakehouse foundation can then enable healthcare professionals to run analytics to identify patient needs in particular in real time. So that's one potential use case. Then also in the financial services, right? I'm sure you may have obviously have data that's scattered across multiple silos and different environments, right? So once you aggregate this particular data and aggregate this particular data, especially into the one lake, and you layer into a sort of modeling interface on top of it, right? You could then find out that industries such as even the banking industry, right, they'll be able to drive increased customer lifetime value and loyalty by providing a holistic view of customers' current, maybe financial states that will then allow their customer reps to upsell or cross-sell products and services that best fit those individuals' customer needs. So when you're proposing we are basically proposing something, a solution to them or a service to them, you ensure you'll be proposing it with the confidence that this is something that this customer is going to potentially need, rather than just shooting haphazardly and making guesses. Then also within the financial or within the retail services, right? Also, they face their own unique challenges, right, when it comes to data, in the sense that they will struggle with they often struggle, and it's based off of what we've observed within the industry. They struggle closing the gap between their online and then their physical stores. So now integrating the data coming from these two sources, right, in a meaningful way and efficiently managing supply chains, right? With Microsoft Fabric, right, retailers can then leverage real-time data to inform maybe their merchandising strategy, leverage customer data to learn what to target toward different audiences, and as well as also curate personalized experience and also help them to have a detailed understanding of what product needs to be ordered at a particular point in time and what certain quantity, so that it would also help them to avoid wastage or having to issue unnecessary discounts that can then turn into losses for the organization as the case may be, right? So these are just some of the potential use cases, right? And the reason why there's a plethora of different ways that you potentially use look about how you could use Microsoft Fabric to drive your data management and your analytics processes, right? But I just wanted to give this to basically give you an idea. So now the question that I'm going to ask now, which is going to be in the poll, the second poll that we're going to drop is, which area do you actually think or would you believe would benefit most, right, from your improved data analytics within your organization, right? So a poll will just drop now, and we can get an idea on how potentially you may take value out of this. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll be handing over to Nifemi right now.
Thank you very much for that insightful presentation, Benedict. Thank you so much for all the details that you have shared. So Benedict has let us know that Microsoft Fabric is that one-stop shop that can provide you with all of your centralized analytics needs. So I'll be calling on Praise to go ahead to share her screen. So yeah, so if you're working in probably IT consulting, or you work in FMCG, or there are several areas of your business, or even if you're considering that you're wondering in this my space, maybe you're in a unique space that we're probably not even aware of, I'm pretty certain that Microsoft Fabric can assist you with your technology needs. and that it can help you with all of your data analytics. But probably you're struggling with different data silos, and then you have a lot going on. There's so much that you can do with Microsoft Fabric. It brings everything into that unique space for you and gets you going on. So if you're yet to respond to the poll questions that have been shared, kindly do so. We would love to get your feedback. And if you have any questions, maybe you're wondering how we can go about it in your environment, or maybe you have like some tailored requests, also drop those questions in the chat and our experts will get across to you. All right, so now we have Praise. Praise is here with us. Praise, kindly go ahead to share your screen and take us through the live demo of how Microsoft Fabric works in real time and the different potentials that abound for our users. Thank you, Praise. Hello, Praise. Your screen is up now. You could go ahead.
Okay, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. We can put your screen back up.
Oh, okay. Okay, kindly confirm my screen is visible now.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Great. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning from. My name is Praise Abel and I work as a data professional out of Reliance Systems. And I'm going to be taking the next few minutes of our time to buttress on what Benedict, my colleague, has been talking about, to just basically give us the better understanding what Microsoft Fabric is all about and how we can leverage on that using a use case. But before I proceed, what you can see on my screen is the Microsoft Fabric environment. And for you to access the environment, all you have to go is the way you have to go to is the www.powerbi.com or www.microsoftfabric.com, right? And get you to this environment. Of course, you have to have the required free licensing to do so. Now, this is the Microsoft Fabric environment. Like my colleague has mentioned, it's a cloud solution where you're able to do all things related to your data, right? When it comes to your data end-to-end workload, you're able to achieve all that on this environment or on this cloud solution. Now, I'm going to be taking us through the different features and experiences we have on Microsoft Fabric. So as you can see on my screen, you can see we have different hubs here when it comes to what exactly you're trying to do with regards to your data. The first one we have here is the visualizing of data, right? Where you want to present your data as rich visualizations and insight that you can share with others, right? So whether you want to build a single page story, you want to build real-time dashboard, you want to build reporting, you want to build scorecards, you have each and every feature here that can help you to achieve that. You want to track key goals, you want to create interactive presentation to share to your stakeholders or even outside your organizations, right? You're able to achieve that using either the reporting, the scorecard, the dashboard, your real-time dashboard, as the case may be, right? Now, talking about getting your data, of course, you want to be able to get your data before you can even start working on it, right? So whether it's real-time data, batch data, however you're getting your data from, do you want to transform your data before bringing it to the environment, or do you want to bring it to the environment before you start cleaning and transforming your data? Now, depending on what you were trying to do with your data, right, you have different features on the Fabric environment that can assist you in doing this. So I can see on my screen, we have the copy job feature, we have the data flow Gen 1, we have the data flow Gen 2, we have the event stream for real-time data, as well as the mirrored Azure Cosmos DB, the mirrored Azure Cosmos DB for PostgreSQL, and so on and so forth, right? So it's just limitless, right? So these features come hand in hand when you're trying to bring your data into the environment, right, from different data sources, whether on premises or on the cloud, right, depending on where your data is coming from, what structure your data is, you're able to utilize on any of these features to bring your data into the Fabric environment. Now, of course, after bringing your data, you want to be able to store your data, organize your data, query your data, right, make it in the form where it is easily retrievable, right? We also have different features, different experiences on the Fabric environment that you can use to achieve that. So whether it's structured data like your tables and columns, whether it's unstructured data like audio and photos, video data, semi-structured data like your JSON format, your CSV, however your data is, right? You have the right feature for you right on the Microsoft Fabric environment. So we have our lake house, we have our event house for real-time data, we have a sample warehouse, a semantic model, a SQL database, and our warehouse, right? So we can leverage on any of these different features on the Fabric environment to store our data, to organize our data, to query our data, and of course, to ingest our data very easily. Next, when it comes to preparing your data, right? Clean your data, drop missing rows, just basically explore your data, right? You want to transform your data, transform your columns, load more data, whatever it is you want to do, right? In terms of how to prepare your data for this analysis to be able to get the most out of your data, right? You also have different features ranging from the Apache Airflow job, the Azure Data Factory, the copy job activity, the data flow Gen 1 and Gen 2. We have the event stream, we have the notebook, we have the pipeline. So you can use any of this feature to analyze and explore your data, to clean your data while you're working on the environment, depending on what you're trying to do, right? For example, with the pipeline, you can ingest your data at scale. You can schedule refreshes to bring your data in batches. You have the notebook for our data scientists in the house, can easily leverage on Python to bring in your data, to explore your data, to analyze your data as the case may be. And going further to analyzing and training your data, of course, you want to make some predictive analysis for your team. You can bring in ML models, right, to work on your data, right? Train your data, test your data. So you can see here, we have the data agents, we have our environments where we have our setup libraries, we have experiments in terms of our models. We also have a machine learning models that we can use to predict outcomes. We have a notebook, right, which is the environment where you'll be leveraging on on Python to write your codes, as well as the Spark job definition, right? So all of these are different features that you can leverage on when you want to analyze and train your data. You want to get more insight from your data, right? Right? You can leverage on this, right, on the Fabric environment. So we have an interesting one here, like the data agent, which is built on generative AI, right? It helps you understand your data better. So with the data agents, you can ask complex questions in regards to your data, right? If you're familiar with the ChatGPT, it's just the way you query on the solution, right? And it gives you the response. So this is what the data agent does. And there are so many more amazing features directly on the environment that you can utilize, right, to get the most out of your data and at the end of the day, enhance your business. So we also have the tracking of data, like the activator that we can use to monitor our data sets. We can create queries and even event stream where we are able to configure patterns and alerts, right, trigger actions on different situations. So instead of just waiting at the end of the day or going back to check on, maybe you have a real-time data and going back periodically to check on different KPIs, you immediately get the alerts and trigger actions, right, directly on your Teams or your email, and then you'll swing into action. We're going to see more into that as we proceed with the demo. So we also have copy job activity, we have the event house, we have the scorecard. All these we are able to use to track our data. So we also have the develop data sessions. This is for our developers in the house, where we can use API for GraphQL have our environment, our notebook to explore, analyze, and visualize data, of course, right? And lastly, we have other third parties tools that are built on Fabric core capabilities, like the event schema sets. We have the healthcare data solutions for our viewers that are in the healthcare sector. We have retail solutions for our viewers that are in retail, and so on and so forth, right? So just to give us an overview of what the Fabric offers, we have tons and tons of different data specific features, right, that can help you enhance your business over time. Now, I'm going to go over to a particular use case that we can use to explore some of these features we have on the Fabric environment. But before I do that, I want us to work with a particular use case, like I said, right? Now, imagine you are a retail or a financial company. You're trying to better understand your customers, right? You want to know maybe what product they're most interested in. You want to know how they interact with your services. You want to know what factors that drive them to stay loyal or to keep patronizing your services and products, or to switch to your competitors. Now, the challenge you have, right, as a business owner or working organization may be that your data is spread across different sources, from your transaction data to website visits to even your call center logs, right? We have maybe marketing campaigns data. You have this data situated at different data houses, right? And you're not able to get a full visibility or even get the most out of your data because you have the challenge of having to consolidate your data in one environment to better analyze your data. Now, I'm going to show you how the Microsoft Fabric can bring all the data together in one environment. And so we can further analyze this customer behavior in real time, build predictive models, visualize trends for better decision making in our organization. Now, of course, the first thing we want to do in such scenarios is that we want to be able to identify those data sources and bring our data into the environment, right? Now, instead of searching across multiple tools, working with different tools, we can now be able to access the same version of truth about our customer, about our product, about our services directly in one environment. And how can we do this? We're now able to bring in our data through different processes. Like I mentioned the data flow, I mentioned the data pipeline, right? So I'm going to show us a typical example of what the data pipeline looks like, right? So this here is the data pipeline, right? So all you have to do is from the list, the different features we have on Fabric, you go over to search for the particular feature you want to use and just select it, name it, and then you have the environment up and running, and then you go continue building what you're trying to build on the environment. So for example, I have my data pipeline now, and to create a pipeline activity, I'll just go over to select this, and I select copy data because I want to copy my data from an external source to the environment. So this is my copy data activity here that I am trying to use to bring in my data, right? So down here, I have my source, I have my destination. So all I have to do is to configure both my source and my destination. So my source is getting the data from where the data is seated, and my destination is bringing the data into the Fabric environment. For example, we have this source here. We can go over to see the different data sources we have. So let's take a look at that. So for the pipeline, we have a lot of data sources that we can connect to for our data, right? And it's not just limited to these data sources we have here. So like I mentioned, leveraging on the data flow, you have even tons of more data sources, whether on-prem or whether on the cloud, that we can leverage on to bring in our data into the environment. But let's take a look at the list of data sources we have for our pipeline activity. So this is still loading. Okay. Okay, sorry about the delay. I guess it may have to do with the network or something. But yeah, right, you can see we have various lists of data sources on the Fabric environment using the data pipeline. And like I mentioned, it's not just limited to this sources, right? From our Oracle to our FTP to our Amazon or AWS, right? We have the different sources here, depending on where your data is seated, right? And we can leverage on these data sources by just clicking them, right? And configuring the data access. And we have our data connected to these sources, and we are able to bring in data into this environment. But for the sake of this demo, where I have my data is on the blob storage and Azure blob storage. So I'm just gonna going ahead to select this blob storage, which is this one I just selected here. And after doing that, the next thing I can do is to now configure the particular area. If I have different containers in my blob storage, I have different data, and I just want to work with the particular data. Maybe a particular year, I can go ahead to configure to direct the path to where the exact data that I want to use is. And the next thing I want to now do is to go ahead to configure the destination, which in this case will be my lakehouse, my e-commerce lakehouse that I have already created prior to this session, right? So I'm also going to go ahead to select the destination. And after doing this, over here, I can now go ahead to either schedule a trigger, right? Maybe I want to schedule my run for maybe hourly or every 6 hours or even daily, right? And now every 6 hours, if that was my schedule, right, my pipeline runs and brings in new data. Or I just want to trigger the pipeline right now, and I trigger my pipeline and I have my data now seated on my lakehouse, right? Now, in the scenario where we already have our data seated in our lakehouse, what is the next thing that we want to do? The next thing we want to do, of course, is to explore our data. So I'm not going to go to our lakehouse so we can take a look at what the data seated on the lakehouse looks like, right? So what you can see here are different tables, right, that have been brought into my lakehouse environment. So these different tables are coming from different sources, right? So you can schedule as many pipelines as you want, depending on where you have your data, and then you build this pipeline to bring in your data into the environment, right? And here you can be able to create relationships between your different tables to understand your data better, right? Explore your data as the case may be, right? So we even have the SQL analytics endpoints, which you can see here on top right of my screen. In scenarios where you want to query your data using SQL, so I'm going to go over to this environment by clicking on this SQL analytics endpoints. And it's going to take me to the environment where I can now start writing queries to query my data. So I want to create groups, I want to perform aggregations, I want to explore my data folder. I am able to do that. So we have the same table here, the same tables we have our lakehouse, which are all our data here. And then we can go ahead to start writing SQL queries to further explore our data, right? So we can see how a data scientist, a data analyst can actually do this directly on the environment. Now, in the situation where we have this 360 view of a customer with respect to different customer data, we want to start asking deeper questions, right? We want to start asking deeper questions, maybe making predictive analysis. How do we go about that, right? Now, within the Microsoft Fabric notebook, right, we are now able to run advanced analytics, right? Like maybe collating customer behaviors into group, right? And anything we want to do, right, with respect to predicting analysis, our products, as the case may be. So if we have data scientists in the team or even data analysts and they are familiar with Python, right, we can also leverage on the Fabric notebook to do all this. For example, here we have a Fabric notebook that we leverage on to explore our data further. So you can see this is a typical notebook for those of us that are familiar with the Jupyter notebook. It's literally the same thing. All we have to do is import our ML libraries, all our libraries, and then we further explore on our data. We have some visualizations here that's speaking to further exploratory analysis on our data. And then we can now go ahead to import these ML models to build predictive analysis on our data, right? So this is what the notebook is looking like, right? Directly on the Fabric environment, right? So now, in the scenario where we have been able to, of course, build a predictive analysis, we'll be able to build some predictions with respect to our data, maybe predict the likelihood of a customer churning over time, right? And we want to even get more understanding on the results of those predictions. Now, we want to be able to explore our data even further, right? After we've performed our querying, and build these predictions, right? We want to be able to make more meaning out of this data, get more insight. So this is where we now leverage on Power BI to bring it all to life, right? So with Power BI, we can constantly see the customer insights. We can constantly see KPIs like average spend per customers. We can see things like even churn rates, satisfaction trend, or whatever KPIs that we are working with in the Fabric environment, right? So we can see how this is a typical report, and that has been built with the customer data we have on the environment. So you can see here executive and even non-technical members can track customer churn at a glance, right? We have a marketing team that can identify who to target, and service teams that we can see where customers are unhappy, right? So our decision makers in the team can now, they don't have to run queries or go through those technical steps, because they are now able to get a better understanding of all that has been done by leveraging on the Power BI reporting and dashboards. So they're able to see instant insights instantly in a language that makes sense for the business, right? So for example, this dashboard I have on my screen is showing the total revenue, the highest goods sold, total customer over time, total customer base on geographical location, and a lot of KPIs, even our churn rates, as the case may be, right? And all that was was built using the data we have, the data we analyzed, and the data we make predictions from. Now, lastly, of course, after having this insight of our data, it means little if we are not able to do something about it, right? It means little without any action. So this is where the data activator now comes into play. And what exactly is the data activator, right? So like I mentioned, with the data activator, we can now go for that to set triggers. Say, for example, if churn risk rises above a certain threshold, right? What should the business do? What should the company do? So setting such triggers, the system automatically alerts maybe the customer team, or even the stakeholders or whoever is in charge, right, on the spike or of the changes, and then the business swing into action, right? So with data activator, we can set alerts. We can set alerts when customer behavior changes, right? And what I have here is a typical example of what the data activator looks like, right? We have, for example, this has to do with delivery, product delivery, right? We can set alerts from when the product has been successfully delivered, when the delivery fails, when the delivery is picked up, and that way, whoever is in charge is able to see the various, get the different alerts from this various configuration that was being made. So instead of waiting at the end of the day and start going through your report, or start going through your data on how the business went for the day, right? You're immediately able to get, for example, a delivery failed at so time. You're easily able to get it immediately, and the business or the person in charge swings into action. So it makes your work more effective, and at the end of the day, it increases the overall effectiveness of your organizations, and also advance your business in every aspect, because you're able to make the most out of your data. Right now, in just a few steps, we can see how the Microsoft Fabric gives us a 360-degree understanding of our customers, from unifying the data to turning it into insight, to predicting our behaviors with the data science notebook, to helping us act in real time with the data activator, all in one platform. And there's even more, right? And because of time, we are not able to go through the different features we have there, but there's so much more the Fabric can actually do, right? It brings data in with the pipelines or even different other features, cleans and unifies our data, applies AI and ML to find patterns and predict behaviors on our customers or our products, visualize our results on Power BI, and let us act in real time with the data activator, right? So we can go from scattered customer data to actionable insight that improves maybe the loyalty of the customer. We can reduce customer churn and generally grow our revenue, amongst a lot of other things that it can do to advance our business and our organizations, right? So I'm going to be stopping here because of time and giving room for questions. I believe we have a lot of questions and we've been able to learn a lot of things so far. So thank you all for listening. I'll be handing over to my colleague, Nifemi. Thank you. Over to you, Nifemi.
Thank you very much, Praise, for that insightful walkthrough of Fabric and is about. So before we continue, I see that Benedict's hand is up. Benedict, would you like to go and tell us what you have?
Yes. Thank you very much for that lovely demo. So, yeah, a couple of questions. All right, okay. So I see a couple of questions within the chat. Within the chat window. One is, can you show them of the use of webhooks or APIs connecting to external data sources, right? So in regards to the webhooks or APIs, right? Because of this demo was that we created, we just leveraged on data that was coming from Azure Blob Storage, right? We can't do that because of want of time, right? But for the webhooks and APIs, you can leverage on an orchestration within the data pipeline. It's actually quite visible when you want to orchestrate data from the data pipeline. And you can also get something similar to that particular experience. Data flow Gen 2 experience. If you want something a little bit much more detailed or much more tailored, right? What Nifemi is going to speak on by the end of the session would actually attend to that, right? We can arrange for a session to actually show you how that works end to end. But just once of time, we had to streamline the conversation to that. But it's actually quite simple. You can leverage on either the I think what Praise used in this instance was the pipelines, right? Where you could leverage on either the pipelines or the data flow Gen 2 to actually achieve that kind of integration from data coming from the external sources. Then also, so who actually mentioned against the different states or benefits within using Fabric, that is like ADF. Actually, Azure Data Factory is Azure Data Factory becomes integrated into the Microsoft, right? So you can think of it as already coming into the solution, right? And but I feel like what has a little bit much more similarity to the Microsoft Fabric would be something like the Databricks. And in that instance, the Microsoft Fabric actually gives you much more flexibility, or what I say, much more ease. I think the word I'll use is much more ease to set up and start building out whatever it is you may want to build out. So while with the Databricks, you may have to build everything like just the way they will talk about it, brick by brick, right, to actually build out whatever it is you may want, right? Fabric aims to make that process of building out your solution much more seamless, right? So while they provide similar benefits, especially the Databricks and the Azure Microsoft Fabric in particular, they provide they provide similar benefits, right? Or they provide the similar functions. Fabric stands out in the ability for it to be easy to get your solution up and running, and for you not have to go through the entire problem of doing a whole lot of configuration as what you would expect with something like a Databricks. And Azure Data Factory comes integrated into Microsoft Fabric, right? So there's not really much of a difference there, right? Okay, so how does, and also another question that we have in the chat window, how does Microsoft Fabric ensure data governance and lineage are maintained across different workloads like Power BI, Data Factory, SQL, and Synapse within the same tenant? So this now also speaks towards the Microsoft Purview that I talked about within the last section of the presentation slide, right? That Microsoft Purview is the is the data governance tool that is integrated within Fabric, right? That maintains the monitoring of all your of all your entire data artifacts. In addition to the always in addition to the security compliance that Microsoft obviously have that comes along with the Microsoft Fabric, right? So unlike maybe some sort of like on-premises solutions whereby you may have to go through the process of constantly verifying whether your security protocols are always up and running and the way they're supposed to be, right? With the Microsoft Fabric, which is basically a cloud solution, right? A SaaS cloud solution, you can always be sure that you're on the best form of Microsoft security and protection as the case may be, right? Then it's tailored. In addition to that, you also have the Microsoft Purview that helps you, that assists you in your data governance so that you can know who has access to what data, what level of access that person has, and perform the restrictions as you may see fit, right? So the Purview serves as an eagle bird's eye view into your entire data estate and helps you to manage every form of your data artifacts, right? So that's the answer to all the questions, right? In particular, right, if you would want much more details of information, right? Much more detail and information on some of all these concepts. So if you want to dive a little bit much more deeper into some of all these concepts, because I know it's quite a lot to wrap around probably within an hour session, right? Nifemi has a special announcement for you, and I think I will hand it over to Nifemi to take it off from there.
All right, thank you so much, Benedict, for all of that and for attending to the questions that we had in the chat. Also, a major thanks to Benedict and Praise for everything that they've shared with us today. And I hope that we've been able to get some insights as it relates to our industries or our roles. So Benedict rightly mentioned that there's a special announcement, and your special announcement from role is very simple. Because you have participated in today's event and you have been with us throughout this time, you are qualified for a free digital advisory session with our experts. So now we understand that all that we have discussed today is quite limited. We've only discussed Microsoft Fabric, and although that is the core focus of our events, there's so much more that your business could have some challenges with. Maybe you don't know Microsoft Fabric yet, on something more, or you're still trying to wrap your head around how you can leverage the resources that you currently have access to. This free digital advisory session is for you. You need it, so we'd love for you to take the opportunity to transform and drive your business growth with a tailored session for us. In that session, we're going to meet with you and talk to you and just understand your environment and let you know how we can assist you. So the QR code is on the screen. You can scan it, and there's also the link. Both of them will drop in the chat. We'd love for you to schedule your session to meet with us. We are saying that it is beyond Microsoft Fabric because, for benefits of those who probably missed it, our business is built on 4 success pillars, and we have a plethora of solutions that can assist across this board. Transformation to drive employee engagement with the organization. Maybe you're thinking of how you can get on the AI train. To explore it, but as an organization, how do you get your people on board and have a unified AI strategy? You're also looking at how to maximize insights and probably strong, vulnerable in some areas, trying to get compatible with some compliance rules or regulations, and maybe your organization is still struggling, or maybe they haven't caught up to where we are right now with technology, cloud services, probably and they're just wondering, where will my company be at this space? So all of these things are stuff that we can help you with. In that tailored session, we would explain to you how your business can get all of these solutions based on how it relates to your unique needs. So we'd love for you to and get up on your digital transformation journey and how we can help you get better. So we lend our appreciation to everyone who has taken the time to be with us today. And we would also love for you to stay connected with us. We have shared our social media contacts on the screen. You can scan the code, or you can also see the handles on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. We'd love for you to interact with our posts so that you are aware of anything new when it happens and that you can also participate in future events. So thank you again to our speakers. Thank you again to our attendees. It was a pleasure working with you today on how to drive business growth with AI and intelligent data. This is where we're going to close the curtain for today. We hope to see you in our next event.